This is Nate with the Top Engineering Cultures podcast, and I'm here with Kevin, who's an executive and entrepreneur based in California. Kevin, if you could introduce yourself.
Sure. Thanks, Nate. Kevin Kane. I'm with Ascent OS right now. We are an AI-driven construction management platform that's working with both large construction firms like Whiting Turner and large lenders like Goodleap. So we're attempting to dominate both the residential and the commercial markets. My background's been technology. I've been in a number of different verticals, from healthcare to construction tech to legal tech to data center management across the board. That's afforded me the opportunity to contribute in like 11 different liquidity events. So I've seen all different sides of things. Been through acquisitions that include IBM and HP, so done the Fortune 500 thing. And I've also done a lot of startups where this is my second VC-backed, VC recruited CEO role. Last thing is I'm a U.S. veteran, U.S. Air Force veteran. So that's my whole background.
Cool. Oh, cool. Yeah, we didn't. I know we caught up a little bit before, but I didn't know that. Um, so you were recruited for a CEO role. How does that work? I don't think a lot of people know about. I don't think a lot of people know how that works.
Yeah, well, there's a thing a lot of PEs and some VCs have called operating partner, and that's kind of been the role I've been operating in as a kind of an outsourced role.
I see. Okay.
And as a result of kind of doing an interim type CEO and contributing to different strategies and ideas around product development and so on, then it tends to lead itself into, hey, let's why don't you just go ahead and run the organization. That's what happened here with Ascent, candidly. But part of that, there's another VC firm that is a large, well-respected one with a lot of fantastic companies as well as fantastic LPs. That was the first few months I was coming in as an interim CEO, and it quickly shifted to a divestiture, and it took about a year to work through that. So it's just another role to play when you're trying to either scale up and grow a company or look to maybe de-invest just due to certain circumstances associated with that particular project.
Yeah, I feel like in my experience, the more you speak up about things are broken, the more they give you to do, and suddenly you're running the whole thing.
Yeah, exactly right. Well,
Yeah.
and especially it's one of those projects where you got to feel passionate about, right? It's hard to get involved with any particular project that you don't have a certain amount of passion. And I've been pretty picky with mine because I have 18-year-old twin boys, and so when they're getting to know more and more about what I do, I want to make sure that what I do has some context to their understanding. So, like one of the projects was in healthcare, we were providing locking caps with I introduced an IoT capability for EHR for remote patient monitoring. But that was right during the COVID phase as well as the opioid epidemic. So it's really kind of helping to stop people from misusing prescription drugs. And that was a good message to my boys during that time. And then now I'm in construction management. And one of my sons who's off to Chico State to get his construction management degree. So that kind
That's
of,
funny. My parents went to Chico State,
oh, how funny. Small
and
world.
my sister actually. Yeah,
There
yeah,
you
yeah,
go. Yeah,
yeah.
great
They
place
met
with them.
there. That's funny. Yeah, my sister's still in Chico.
Huh? It's
Um,
a fun place. It
yeah,
is.
yeah, I love it up there. Yeah, let's talk more about the construction stuff because we chatted a bit about that, and I think it's super interesting. Maybe starting around like explaining what you guys do, and also comparing it to Service Titan. I think is I liked hearing your thoughts on that. So now we got to give it to the people.
Yeah, right. Fair enough. So, quick history on the company. It was actually a carve out. So, there's a large solar installer here in Sacramento area that around when they hit around 80 million in ARR, they realized they needed some type of management platform to help them scale further. So, they invested about 3 million into an internal platform that they developed that enabled them to take their company from 80 million to 400 million in about 36 months. So, that got the attention of local VCs and the Impact Venture Capital group that I'm working with now. They negotiated a deal with the founders and they carved it out, put a few more $1 million into it, and really took it to market. And this is back in 2022. A couple of things have been going on during that time frame. It was COVID for sure, but
Mhm.
here in California, there's different solar programs. There's NEM 1, NEM 2, NEM 3. When NEM 3 hit, it kind of de-incentivized people to pursue the solar.
Yeah, it seems like it's not as hot right now.
Right. The incentives weren't
Yeah.
there. It's hard to get the ROI and what have you. And that was happening. So when I came in 2024, January 2024, the company was trying to be like the project management platform for all clean energy. When I connected with the co-architect of the platform, I said, what's our core competency? He was very clear, rooftop residential solar. So let's do that. So we started in January 2024 with about 200 projects and 50 users. We exited 2024, so December, with over 3,100 projects and about 600 users. So it served us well, but around end of third quarter, we realized we got to start diversifying. We're seeing that with a lot of bankruptcies, Titan and Pink, and now you're hearing about Sonova and then SunPower. It's a market that's not thriving and growing the way it used to. And so with that intent, we connected with a lender called GoodLeap. They're about a $12 billion valuation in the marketplace. They were doing a lot of solar deals. Now they're doing much more home improvement deals. And so as we worked with them to see how we can expand and diversify our platform to include other home improvement, think roofing, HVAC
Uh-huh.
replacement, those kinds of things.
And so
So
the software is managing, helping to manage the project end to end. Is it for the contractor primarily? And how different is solar versus doing your kitchen
yeah,
from
great
yeah,
question. So that's what makes us unique and different. First of all, it's a very customizable, configurable platform, and that's music to a lot of contractors' ears because every project's different. And if you're stuck in a very rigid type of platform, you can't customize that workflow to really meet the requirements of the project or your workflows. So
right. It's not like every kitchen is standardized and you're doing the same thing over and over and over again. It's every single one's different.
yep.
Yeah,
However, if you
that
look
makes
at the
sense.
different phases of a solar project, you roll in a truck, you're doing a site survey, you're ordering materials, you're then doing an install. Those types of things at the highest level are very repeatable processes for
They're
lender
shared
management.
between.
Yep.
So like you got to order the cabinets, you got to hire the guys, you got to get the yeah, okay, makes sense. And
Right.
so would you say it's like a Jira for construction contractors, like where there's living in it, living, breathing it every single day, and to do their job, be effective at all, or is it something you use occasionally, like project by project?
Yeah, no, it's intended to be living in in the platform.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
very, we call it the project management collaboration platform because the other thing that differentiates us is that we provide the collaboration platform for the contractors, the lender who's funding the project, as well as the
Mhm.
homeowner. So all stakeholders are now uniquely aware of where we are in the process of that particular project. And when questions come up and what have you, you can handle them real time so that you're not having delays in your project.
Because it's all connected. So why does the lender one in there?
Well, they're starting to switch in solar, traditional solar. It was the lenders providing the contractor milestone payments.
I
And
see.
they switched to now TPO, which is third party ownership. It's a whole nother topic. But that why that was important though, Nate, is that the many contractors are very effective in what they do in the actual construction project, not so much in cash flow management. And so
Correct.
we
Yeah.
moved away from the milestone because you get a chunk of money for a bunch of things at the same time. We've enabled the lender and the contractor to be at a task level type capital
Mm,
allocation. So if I need a
hmm.
permit, I complete the task within 24 hours. We're funding that event. You need to order equipment. You complete the task and show you've ordered the equipment. The lender can then release the funds and then reimburse that contractor within 24 hours.
I don't think I fully understood when we first talked about that, how that all works. That makes a lot of sense. Did the contractors invoice through there now too to the end customer?
Yep,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Wow. Cool.
It's all
Yeah.
encompassing it completely, exactly. So that's why we started looking at the service titan. The question was asked from our lender, GoodLeap, as I mentioned, like, what's your vision? I'm like, well, on the residential side, we're the next more modern AI-driven service titan. On the commercial side, we're the same for Procore, but project management only. We're not trying to take on the entire Procore portfolio, but really just the project management component.
Hmm. And who, like when they initially built the company, was the dev team all in California and they were like hyper aware of the solar? Did you guys work with teams like around the world? How did that work?
Yeah, both. Early on, right today, we're all onshore.
Yeah.
Historically, it was global, Vietnam
Okay.
and India and so on. We're not opposed to offshore at all. It's just a matter of,
Yeah.
right, like right now, I'm working a deal with actually a long-term friend of mine has a company that part of his team is actually up in Redmond side by side with the co-pilot team at Microsoft, co-developing Copilot. And so we're looking to work with them as one of our outsourced development partners to really encompass a lot of those AI driven initiatives that we can really embed that into the platform. So that becomes a very intuitive platform and a very efficient platform.
Where do you see the biggest opportunities with AI, like integrating into your guys' product? Do you see it like enhancements, cost savings, better experience? Like where do you think the leverage is?
Yeah, good question. Across the board, candidly. So if you look at the way, so first and foremost, I need a certain amount of materials for my project. So where can I get the best deal for those materials and the best delivery time? What about loans? What's the best type of loan I can get so that real time, as I'm the contractor closing you, the homeowner, and I have your scope. Right, real time. We can get feedback, based upon the qualifications of the homeowner and the scope of the business. Now the contractor can provide that homeowner three different bids, real time, same time, at the point of sale, saying, well, if you want to go full scope, it's going to be $10 more a month. You want to stay in the current scope, it's going to be $500 a month. What do you want to do?
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, interesting. Huh. What do I not know about construction that would surprise me that you learned? Because I assume you didn't start in construction, right? Like you were in the military, you've done other companies,
Yeah.
and now you're doing this.
Yeah, during high school, I built homes in the summertime, which was a real lesson in framing homes and whatnot, because especially in Sacramento, it get quite warm. So I had some exposure, but I would never call myself a contractor. And my experience with a company called Meridian Systems, they had a product called Prolog, which many of the folks who are in construction management would know Prolog and Proliance. And we were acquired by Trimble back in 2006. And that has evolved to now called Trimble Project Site. It's a very widely used platform, almost as widely used as Procore. To answer your question, what's the most interesting thing or surprising thing you don't know about construction? It's really three key components that really drive project management and construction: scope, schedule, budget, and they all affect each other. You change the scope, you affect the schedule, you affect the budget. If you change the schedule, you affect the scope, you affect the budget. You follow me? So they're very intertwined. So when you make a change to one, you got to be prepared at how it affects the others.
Yeah, and the communication around that. We of course, as every engineers do, we built our own task management software for our agency. Kind of, I mean, not unlike what you're talking about here, like end to end project management. Our team lives in it every day. Um, but we were never really able to get like any adoption. I think your industry, construction, there's probably a lot more value and like the numbers are, there's just a bigger scale and more standardized. With agencies, they're usually like pretty small and like the dollar value can be, nothing to, if they're just freelancers, they don't want to pay for stuff. So I think it's just a bit different. Um,
Well, in
uh,
our business, you're absolutely right. The adoption is a key piece, which is why the more intuitive you are, the better. On the commercial side, it works a little different. It works interestingly differently, where the prime general contractor for the commercial project requires all the subs to be on the same platform.
mm,
So you get adoption that way strictly because if we want to communicate, we want to pay your invoices, we want to schedule you
you
within
got
the
to be
system,
here.
you
Yeah,
got to be on the
exactly.
platform, which is what drives the
Yeah,
adoption. So the more you can get with the large GCs, and I think I mentioned we're working with Whiting Turner,
interesting.
which is a very
Yep.
large one. That's the opportunity for not only to make sure you get the adoption, but because we're AI driven, because we're customizable and configurable, the feedback we get from every project influences how we then configure and enhance and affect the product roadmap. And that's important for us at our particular stage, that we want to continue to evolve with the market versus requiring the market to evolve to us. And that's where a lot of these legacy systems are at. They're requiring the market to fit within their rigid schedules versus having the construction folks be able to just be flexible enough and say, I need to have this type of workflow. With our platform, we can do that.
So I have two questions. I want to say them both so I don't forget. How do you think about hiring tech leadership in California or anywhere really? And then the other one so is the go-to-market strategy focused on general contractors only, or what's the sales motion look like for you guys, or is there one?
Yeah. So as far as tech leadership, people are kind of scared, I know, about AI and how that might get involved and start minimizing jobs and whatnot. And because
I
of the name
talked
of,
to a guy. We did a podcast earlier. He said all the jobs are gone. Basically, I don't know if I take it quite that far, but you can
yeah,
make an argument for it.
we'll see. Time will tell.
Yeah,
It's how
yeah,
well this particular podcast ages, right? But
yeah.
uh,
That's what we said too. We're like maybe in a year we're all unemployed.
right. I tend to I'd be a little more optimistic. If you look
Same.
at the internet, right? People thought the internet was going to blow up the world, and it didn't. It just spun a whole bunch of new jobs, a bunch of new industries, and so on. So I equate that to the same. Same with the iPhone. That was a brand new breaking type of a thing with a smartphone, and look what that's done. I think with AI, especially being involved with the VCs and the PEs that I've been involved with, you talk to any VC and PE, it's all about back in the leadership. It's back in the
Mhm,
individual. So back to your
mhm.
question about hiring tech leadership, it is still very much relevant. I think it's back to your experience, your knowledge, your ability to be flexible, and ability to really assess things quickly and then fail quickly. And then once you fail,
Mhm.
it's okay. I recognize that didn't work. It's time to pivot, and
Yeah,
that's
and be transparent about it.
and be a key word and be transparent
Yeah,
about it. Right. That's what builds the
yeah,
trust and loyalty and whatnot. The
yeah.
other question about go to market, yes, on the commercial side is very much on the general contractor side. That's the one to many strategy that we think we've seen that work with PlanGrid, which got acquired by Autodesk. We've seen that work for Procore. We've seen that
Right.
work with everybody.
When I don't know much about the construction industry, so like the general contractors, I assume are kind of built like a dev shop even would be, where like, there's the layer here and you have people who work for them, but also subcontractors and subcontractors of subcontractors. And so how the people you're selling to, how big is this layer? Like, are they 10-person company, 1,000-person company?
Oh yeah, very much ranges.
Yeah, I don't know anything about it
Yeah, no,
really.
no, I get it. So yeah, so top tier, you're looking at the Bechtels and and you get a kind of same tier, maybe down a tier. You're looking at the Skanskas and the DPRs and the Whiting Turners, and you get into even like mid markets. And so I would
And they're
argue.
and they're all like building. Some build commercial, some build residential, some do both. Like what?
So if we're only right now, I'm only referring to commercial side, right? And,
I
and
see.
and
Okay.
even within commercial, there are different types of contractors, and I get it, and it is a bit of a
Yeah, no, just kind of
challenge.
broad strokes is what I'm
So one
curious
is
about.
big
Yeah.
buildings, to your point, just big commercial buildings. The other is more civil. So think tollways, roadways, freeways, bridges, right? These are
I didn't
different
even think
types of
about that.
contractors.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we
Huh.
call that horizontal versus vertical type contractors. And there's different ones who play big in each of them. I'd probably break them up into those that are between like a 10 million and 500 million company. 500
Okay.
million to like a 3 to 5 billion, and anything above 5 billion, you start getting those bigger
So
companies.
quite large. Yeah.
Project, that they get involved with is anywhere between 30 and 60 subcontractors on these projects, which is why the one-to-many model works so well. You get the adoption at the GC, then you get the adoption to subcontractors, and a
And they've
perfect
got 100 people that work for them, and like,
exactly.
I
And in
s
a perfect world,
interesting.
they love what you're doing, so they want your project, they want your platform within their own company, which is why people always ask, who's your target? It's always going to be the contractor, first and foremost. We've got to serve the contractor to make sure the contractor is happy with the platform, likes how configurable it is, and so on. But that's the commercial side. Real quick, on the residential side, it's all about the lenders. The lenders are the ones that
Hmm.
are working with the contractors, they're working with the homeowners. And the more we get the contractors aware of what we're doing, how they can leverage our platform, and as long as the lender also provides the right incentive to that
Hmm.
contractor, because the lender sometimes wants, not sometimes, the lender always wants to know the updates on the project. So the more we can actually have the contract to get incentivized by the lender with different favorable terms, favorable interest rates, and so on, we gain adoption there as well. So those are the two channels. It's GCs on the commercial side to get the adoption of the subs, and it's the lenders on the residential side to get the adoption of the contractors.
And on the residential side, are you just working with that one lender, or do you see potential to expand
Oh,
into?
absolutely. So
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely a potential to expand. I mean, we're big fans of early adopters, and the more we can get connected with those early adopters to help us then scale the business, we will have certain types of
Is
unique.
that almost like two businesses though? Like one is almost like a finance fintech play, and then the other one is a software application for enterprise?
So yes and no. Sorry to be ambiguous that
No,
way.
no, no, yeah.
The Again, as I mentioned, we're always going to be targeting the contractor. That is our
That's like number
focus.
one.
That's
Okay.
number one.
Yeah.
Value we bring to the lender is nothing more than the ability for them to be able to work with the contractor. And as I mentioned earlier,
Milestones.
not only at the milestones, but also at the point of sale, be able to enable that contractor to close that homeowner because they can real time provide the right type of loan that's going to help
Mm.
that contractor close that homeowner. So as
Yeah,
the
and these
homeowner,
smaller contractors for residential, I assume, do not have huge cash flows to just deal with all this stuff. Yeah. So it's enabling probably more work to get done.
it's a win-win because the lender
Yeah.
is able to get more loans within their. Goodleap does about 250 to 350,000 loans a year, so they want
Mm.
to do more and more types of loans. And so
Mhm.
as that works, is that you're getting the opportunity to position more of Goodleap type loans, and the win for the contractor is I get to close that homeowner at the point of sale because I'm able to real time using our platform present the different type of loan terms that then makes that homeowner go, okay, my budget is this. We talked about 3 different scopes. Let's go with scope number B or number 2, and I can now choose the right loan. So that's enabling the contractor to close quickly. It's able to get the lender to get the more deals done. And then on the GC side for commercial, it's all about transparency. It's all about accountability, and it's all about keeping on scope, on schedule, and on budget with their subs.
And when a GC is looking at adopting, is it like other than the CEO making the buying decision, is it like a project manager who's the stakeholder, or who is using it like the most?
Yeah, definitely the project managers for sure. So that's our target, and that's why we always want to make sure that's our number one target, no matter what. It's the contractor, and within the contractor is the project manager. On the residential side, that could be the owner is also the project manager, as you might imagine. On the GC side, or sorry, on the commercial side, there are different key project managers, and within those levels, there are different levels of project managers. So it's really the matter the opportunity is to make sure that we're connecting with those particular project managers, and that our tone is today will always be collaboration. Hey, this is what we're doing today. It's working. What do you like and dislike, and how do we continue to innovate with that? And again, as I mentioned with AI, that opens up a lot of opportunity to make sure that we're able to provide a quick turnaround for different types of requests we're getting from those project managers.
Interesting. What's like the average contract size, or how do you guys think about pricing?
Great question. So on the commercial side, we're very flexible. We're looking at different pricing models that, for example, Procore actually charges a percentage of the contract budget, which
Yeah,
is
interesting.
surprising for a lot of folks, because the question is, am I getting the same value at $1 billion contract versus a $10 billion contract? There's questions to that.
I wonder if the offering that maybe you get more support and you need more support, but it's like that only scales up so much.
I think if I'm on the Procore side, I would argue that you're using my platform more, right? There's more features within the platform
Right.
you're using and so on. So there's a justification there to some degree. It's just a new.
But it's still software.
Yeah, and
It's
and it's an
you're just
interesting
kind of
pricing
charging a
model.
bit.
They've been
Yeah,
successful with it. So
interesting.
on the GC side, that's why we have partners like Whiting Turner, that we really want to make sure that we want to price it to the point where it's adoptable, right? So
Yeah,
we're not coming in saying here's our pricing model. We're young enough
right.
as a company that we are very nimble as far as how we can
You-
get the right kind of pricing where it's a win-win for both parties. The residential side, we start at $3,000 a month. That's just our basic subscription
Interesting.
rate. And then we have certain tiers based upon the number of projects. So if you get to like 40 or 50 projects, that 3,000 might pop to 5,000. You get
So
above.
you need to be doing at least quite a bit of work, basically.
Yeah, that's the objective, right? And if you look at,
Right.
we're
Which makes
not,
sense. You don't want like home DIY guys using this
no,
really. Yeah, yeah,
that
yeah.
would not, right, exactly right. Because spreadsheets do a wonderful thing. A lot of people manage
Yeah,
their
and
business
it's
on
free.
spreadsheets. They want to chase these
Yeah,
guys. Keep in mind, the
yeah,
origin of the platform came out of a company that was doing 4, 5, 700 projects a month. So it's geared to then handle that kind of volume, and it's not as useful or cost effective if you're looking at 10 jobs a month.
right. When you came in as CEO, like where do you spend most of your time? What do you like to work on? Where do you see your strengths? Are you like doing more go-to-market stuff, more product stuff, everything?
Yeah, great question as well. So, I'm a sales guy. I came up through sales, and it's my humble opinion that sales and marketing is the heartbeat of any company, because they're customer facing. They're trying to get the product adopted. And so I have a whole model around priority objectives, it's all about understanding the customer's key priorities independent of what I'm selling. Let me understand what your
Uh-huh.
key issues are. How do you prioritize those issues? How do you justify those issues? And how do you measure? And within that conversation, I can usually extract how I can then sell, right? Because now you're telling me your biggest pain point. And if you're telling me a red, white, and blue are your biggest pain points, and you measure red, white, and blue these ways, and this is the justification for each, then my job is to go back to my product marketing team or my product management team and say, hey, I'm losing deals because we don't have this color blue. And I can show you that I've been into 10 different deals where this color blue is required, and we've lost them. So how do we make sure that we're actually hitting the blue? So the benefit of that, as now a CEO, is as I'm out there talking to different customers, I use the same tactic. I'm all about how do we solve your problem? And if we're not solving your problem today, and I hear this consistently across multiple different companies I'm talking to, that's my justification to direct our development team to make sure we're developing what the market requirements are.
Totally. Yeah, no, that makes sense. It's a typical consultative sales process
Exactly.
where at the end of the day, I say the same thing, like I'm just solving problems. I'm listening to you. And sometimes it's therapy and sometimes I have an answer, but at least at least we're getting things done. Um,
That's exactly right.
so I'm curious about like did you bring guys under you to go do sales? Did you build a team or is it just you now? And how also, do you think about hiring in areas maybe where like it's not your strength? So like maybe a product CEO is good at tech but bad at sales and like how you might cross-pollinate that. I assume you have a lot of like good executive flow from like the VCs and private equity and that kind of thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was great about Impact Venture Capital, who's a VC who's backing us, who's a majority shareholder, is that do have access. They have 40 plus companies in their portfolio, and some are valued at over $500 million. And so there's some talent and some knowledge base we can tap into for sure. But we're fortunate enough because we were a carve out of this solar installation company that grew to 400 million. That's a pretty big ecosystem that we've tapped into that kind of help us get the word out to the marketplace and whatnot. So that's how we kind of tend to go to market. We're trying to stay as lean and mean as we
I was gonna say it sounds like now you're lean then and growing.
we're
Yeah,
very lean.
yeah, yeah,
And that's intentional because, as I
yeah.
mentioned, the one-to-many strategy with the lenders for residential and the big GCs for the commercial side,
It's
that
gonna trickle
we
down as soon as you get in. Yeah,
exactly. And so as we start
interesting.
getting that momentum, then, I've been very successful, candidly, I'm not looking to poach, but I have been very successful where certain folks in certain industries just want to change. They want to get into tech. And so we're taking that knowledge base that spent maybe 20 years, in a construction management firm or 20 years in lending and residential, or even from our competitors like a Service Titan, where they want to be a part of something new. That's where we tend to kind of look at how do we really scale the business by grabbing folks that not only have the knowledge base, but has the social ecosystem that we can actually monetize.
That's interesting. Are you there's up in Chico, what is it, build.com? Didn't they get bought or something? They're
Yeah,
like
I don't
I
I
for
know of them. I can't speak in detail about them
yeah.
candidly, but I know of them, and that's the
Yeah,
thing.
I just remember them being one of the few like tech employers outside the Bay that actually like hired engineers in the state, which I thought was cool because it's Chico and I love Chico.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was interesting
Are
about
you
that is that one of my good friends he works for a big construction management firm. For the past 5 years, he was part of a committee that was influencing Chico State's construction management curriculum, and so I was fortunate enough.
because it's always been a pretty ag heavy and like construction school, I thought.
Construction,
Yeah.
back in my day when I was looking at colleges, Chico State was really known for business. It's evolved to
And the
be
number one party school when my parents graduated.
pioneer days, you betcha, all those fun days.
Yep. Yep.
And then I can't tell you exactly when it converted to be really heavy in construction management, but that's another big degree coming from that particular university. For our area, I would argue ag. UC Davis is really big in ag, right?
Right.
Tech
Right.
and all that.
Yeah.
Chica maybe as well. I'm just not well versed there. I just know it's really big in construction. And by the way, that's another good point. Is that's one of the things that in a previous project I had done a couple of years ago, also for another VC in project management, we got to go up to Chico State and teach a class on our platform, which is interesting. And so that's another one of our strategies as we begin to scale and grow, is how do we begin to get into certain colleges where we can get that kind
Because
of feedback.
then they go up and get a job in construction and they're like, hey, let's use this.
Exactly right.
Interesting. I've never thought about that. That's a long game for sure.
It's been done before. It's not something that's innovative. I mean, it's been done before. I think
Interesting.
Procore was big in doing that, and a few others. And it's a smart tactic. Apple did it way back in the day, right? So it's a smart tactic. And the idea is, first of all, get a couple of big anchor GCs that are running your platform, and then as you go in and try to influence some of these universities, you do have a direct line into opportunities because you're using the same platform as one of these big, large.
And they want them trained on the thing that, yep.
Exactly right.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Huh. Interesting. Where do you see like the next 12, 24 months for you guys, especially with all the AI developments? And it seems like real world stuff, that's not necessarily too affected by tariffs
Yeah.
is doing okay. I worry a bit about the SaaS apps.
Yeah. Well, I would say the next 6 months, in our world, as you can imagine, the world does change pretty big in a 12-month time frame. Right now, our what's right in front of me that we're focused on, we have potential merger that we're currently evaluating. We're looking to get into LOI here soon. That's going to help cover some of the financial side of things. It kind of helps expand our value proposition
Hmm.
from project management to include accounting and some different types of financial opportunities. So that's interesting.
Do you think you guys would become kind of like, instead of Service Titan, more like Atlassian with different like
Modules.
yeah, modules for different companies and different use cases?
Yeah, so I'm a big believer because, as I mentioned, I've been through a lot of different startups with my 11 liquidity events and whatnot. I've always subscribed to the idea is build the platform and the product that the market wants. And it's, as long as you're close to the market, back to being a sales guy, as long as you're close to the market, you can then determine how you can then build out your platform. If it's module based and you have a big demand and validation from the market that that's what they want, absolutely, that's what we'll do. It's really kind of that model where, I think the all-in-one has been proven to be a challenge because it's very rigid, and
Hmm.
B, it's very complex, and the onboarding is going to be even harder because it's so complex.
And then the sale gets harder, and then people
Right.
don't understand it. And
So
interesting.
what I like is that model where I have the modules, I have the functionality available to you when you want it. So as you're growing and building and using different things, like I need this feature, yeah, I got it for you. And moreover, I can customize that in a way that makes sure it fits within your world. So I'm not asking you to adjust your world to mine. I'm actually adjusting this software. I'm able to adjust ours to yours. An important piece. And so that's the first thing, a merger. We're also looking at a couple JVs with some key partners of ours that's going to further expand our ability to influence our product roadmap to be the next Service Titan, the next Procore. Those are the two key things.
How many people are you guys right now?
Say again.
How many people are you guys right now
We're about a
after
half
the
dozen.
carve out?
About a half dozen.
Yeah,
Yeah.
awesome. Yeah, it sounds like you guys getting it done.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Well, exactly. That's the point.
Yeah. Um, cool. Well, oh wow. See, you're good. We already went over time. Nice. This was great. Is there anything you want to tell the people before we go, since they'll, be maybe 10, 20 people watching this?
Well, for those 10 and 20 of you,
Yeah,
take a look at
exactly.
Ascent OS. The website is ASCENTOS.ai. Take a look at that, and you can reach out to us and learn more. I'm on LinkedIn. You can see me on LinkedIn as well. So, yeah, we're excited about where we're at. We have we have a pretty focused direction where we're heading, and we've got a number of different opportunities that if we can get those across the finish line, I think you'll be hearing a lot more about us.
Awesome. Thanks, Kevin. This
Thank
was
you.
great.
Appreciate it. Thanks, Nate.